Have you ever felt like you're always one step behind, while others walk into a room and naturally take control? Maybe you've been in a conversation where someone skillfully twisted your words with a smile, or made you doubt your own intuition without ever raising their voice. That's not luck, it's not charm, it's strategy. Most people react too quickly. They speak too soon, reveal too much, and lose their advantage before the game even begins. But you're different. You can choose a quieter kind of strength, one forged through discipline, clarity, and self-restraint. A power that doesn't rely on manipulation, but on mastery of the self. Imagine this. What if you could read someone's intent before they spoke? What if you could shift the dynamics without ever raising your voice? This isn't trickery. These are principles, ancient, solid, and rooted in Stoic wisdom. If you're ready to stop being led by the world and start moving through it with purpose, stay with me. The 6 rules that follow will change the way you perceive and wield power. 1. Mastering emotional stillness. Have you ever seen someone fall apart in the middle of a conversation? Their voice changes, their words become jumbled, and their emotions overwhelm their reason. That's not strength. That's the moment they've handed over their power. In any dialogue, disagreement, or negotiation, the one who controls their emotions controls the outcome. Not because they dominate with noise, but because they remain steady while others unravel. Stoic power begins with the understanding that emotions are not truths. They are impressions, brief sparks, that the wise observe but are not ruled by. You don't need to erase your emotions, but you must command them. When you let anger lead you, when you react to every provocation, when you feel the need to explain or argue every time you're offended, you're no longer in control. Someone else is pulling the strings, and you're dancing. Every time you explode in anger thinking you're strong, what you've actually revealed is your weakness, that others can control your internal state. Outbursts are predictable, and what's predictable is easily exploited. Once someone knows how to make you lose your composure, they no longer need to defeat you, you defeat yourself. A Stoic doesn't react instantly, they observe. They treat offense as a test and anger as a trap. They understand that sometimes silence carries more power than any rebuttal. Picture this. Someone attacks you, yet your heartbeat remains steady. A slight smile rests on your face. You don't chase after their chaos. You remain unmoved, letting them exhaust themselves. That is real power. Many people believe that showing emotion creates connection, and that's true if you choose when and how to express it. But if others can constantly pull reactions out of you, you become easy to read. And what's easy to read is easy to manipulate. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That's not poetry, that's strategy. Every time you're tested, you have 2 choices: react from instinct or act from inner discipline. The one who pauses before they speak will always be more powerful than the one who must shout to be heard. 2. The power of silence and the art of listening. Think back to the last time you were in a room full of people talking. Everyone was trying to be heard, eager to prove their intelligence or importance. The noise grew louder, and suddenly you realized no one was truly listening to anyone else. And in that moment, the quietest person in the room was often the most powerful. Why? Because in silence, you gather information. As others reveal themselves, you observe what they didn't mean to show: fears, insecurities, defensive habits. They think they're dominating the space, but in truth, they're handing you every clue you need. Silence is not weakness. It's a deliberate strategy. The Stoics understood that words once spoken cannot be taken back, and haste often exposes your vulnerabilities. Seneca once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen more and talk less." That isn't just moral advice. It's a principle of power. When you choose to listen rather than react, you control the tempo of the interaction. You let others expose themselves while you remain the calm observer. In many situations, the right silence at the right time is enough to unbalance your opponent. Imagine this. You're being attacked in a meeting, but instead of firing back, you sit upright, eyes steady, no interruptions, no grimaces. You listen fully. And when the other person finishes, you pause just long enough to shift the energy in the room. In that pause, every eye turns to you. And when you finally speak, your words carry 10 times the weight of the noise that came before. Silence also creates mystery. People fear the unknown. They're unsettled by not knowing what you're thinking. In that uncertainty, they start projecting their own doubts and anxieties. All the while, you don't need to do anything. You let silence do the work for you. But listening isn't just a tactic in conversation. It's a path to self-understanding. The Stoics often kept journals because they knew if you don't listen to your inner world, you'll be lost in the noise of the outer one. Listening to yourself helps you separate what's within your control from what's not, the foundation of inner freedom. So next time you're tempted to jump into a conversation, ask yourself, why am I speaking? To satisfy my ego or to create real impact? Power doesn't lie in saying more. It lies in knowing when to say nothing. Well-timed silence is a weapon. And like any refined weapon, it doesn't need to be loud. It's powerful because it's precise. 3. The art of observation. Reading the room before you act. Have you ever walked into a room, glanced around, and instantly sensed who held the power? It wasn't because they spoke the loudest. It wasn't because they were the best dressed. It was in the subtle gestures, the eyes, the pauses between their words, all quietly declaring their authority. That's the power of observation, a skill the Stoics valued as highly as inner calm. In every situation, people reveal far more than they realize. A fleeting frown, a glance that avoids contact, fingers nervously fidgeting on the table. All of it is language. The impulsive miss it, but the observer sees the entire book laid open before them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Observe not only what people do, but also what drives them to do it." This isn't just a philosophy, it's a survival strategy. When you slow down and look deeper, you begin to notice what others won't say. Fake confidence masking insecurity, a too wide smile hiding envy, praise delivered with eyes full of resentment. Observation gives you a double advantage. First, you understand others better than they understand themselves. Second, you know when and how to act. A Stoic doesn't rush in, doesn't scramble to prove themselves. They watch in silence. And when they move, they strike with the precision of an arrow hitting its mark. Remember this, the impatient actor often walks into traps of their own making, but the watcher, the patient one, will always find the opening. In daily life, train your observation like a warrior sharpens a blade. Notice how people walk, how they touch objects, how their voice shifts when they speak about different topics. These small cues are maps guiding you toward understanding and advantage. But observation must turn inward too. The Stoics practiced self-observation, identifying their habits, weaknesses, and illusions. Because how can you read others if you haven't yet read yourself? The art of observation doesn't require you to become suspicious. It requires you to become awake. And that awareness gives you an edge far greater than any clever words ever could. When you know how to observe, you don't just see appearances, you see essence. And the one who sees essence is always the one who controls the board. 4. Words, the double-edged sword of power. Have you ever said something in a moment of anger and then wished you could take it back? We all have. And in that moment we realize, words once released can either become a weapon that destroys your credibility or a force that elevates your presence. The Stoics understood that words are tools of power, but like fire, they can warm or they can burn. The question is, do you control your words or do they control you? In every conversation, your words do more than convey information. They signal your character, your confidence, and your position. A rushed sentence can make you seem predictable. A careless remark can shift you from leader to follower, but a well-timed, well-crafted phrase delivered with intention can change the entire tone of a room. Epictetus once reminded his students, "Let your speech be carefully considered, for it reveals the state of your mind." Look at those who truly hold power. They don't speak much. They don't ramble to prove themselves. They speak little, but every word carries weight. In contrast, the insecure speak too much. And the more they speak, the more they expose their anxiety and impatience. Words are like money. The more wisely you spend them, the more valuable they become. If you speak less, others will listen more when you do. If you time your words well, A short sentence can resonate louder than an entire speech. But the power of language doesn't end with your audience. It also shapes you. Every word you speak is also a message to yourself. When you make a habit of using negative or hopeless language, you're programming your mind for defeat. But when you speak calmly, with restraint, you reinforce your inner strength. And most importantly, don't let your words become weapons others can use against you. In an argument, a provoker wants you to react quickly. They want you to say something they can seize and twist. Don't hand them that weapon. Speak less, but make it count. The Stoic chooses their words like a warrior chooses their weapon. Not drawn often, but when drawn, it strikes with precision. Remember, power doesn't lie in speaking more. It lies in making every word hit its mark. 5. Control your attention, where your energy flows. Have you ever realized that others don't need brute force or authority to win? They just need to capture your attention. They provoke you, pull you into meaningless arguments, or drain your time with trivial distractions that change nothing. And while your energy is scattered, they move forward, while you stand still. Attention is the true currency of power. Where you place it, your energy follows. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus once said, "If you worry about things beyond your control, you give up your freedom." And freedom is the root of all strength. The weak are those who allow anything or anyone to pull them off course. A single complaint can ruin their day. A fake compliment can blind them. A small online drama can hijack their entire focus. They think they're simply reacting naturally, but in truth, they're being controlled. In contrast, the one who masters their attention is like a warrior guarding the gates of a city. Not everything is allowed to enter. They are selective. They know what nourishes the mind and what only drains the spirit. They don't let other people's fleeting emotions dictate their inner world. Try observing yourself for just one day. How many times are you pulled away from what matters? By a notification, a careless remark, or something completely outside your control? Each time that happens, you lose energy. Energy that could have been used to build yourself, to create real impact. The Stoic doesn't chase every wave. They are like an anchor in the storm, steady, unshaken. They know exactly what lies within their control, their actions, their decisions, their responses, and they refuse to waste energy on anything else. That kind of focus not only keeps them strong, it makes them unpredictable. Because if you can't be easily pulled in, others don't know how to influence you. You become free. And that freedom is the highest form of power. Remember, your attention is your most valuable asset. Don't give it away carelessly. Invest it where it truly matters. Into your growth, into trustworthy relationships, into the goals you've consciously chosen to pursue. Because wherever your attention goes, that is where your life is. 6. Steadiness, the unshakable pillar of power. There is a truth few people realize. The world does not respect what is momentary. It only respects what endures. You can impress someone for a day, but that doesn't make you powerful. You might win a conversation, but if you falter the next day, everything collapses. True power doesn't lie in a burst of brilliance. It lies in consistency. And this consistency is what the Stoics saw as a foundational pillar of strength. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write morning reflections and forget them by noon. He lived them, repeated them, practiced them. Seneca didn't merely preach calmness, he challenged himself to live simply each month, to remind himself of how little he truly needed. It was that constant repetition that turned philosophy into instinct, into an unshakable force. What about the unstable? One day they're full of fire, the next they're burned out. One day they promise everything, the next they disappear. One day they speak of virtue, the next they betray it. Such people never earn true respect because no one knows when they can be trusted. The Stoic is different. They treat consistency like a vow. No need to show off. No need to convince anyone. Just quiet, repeated action every single day. And that repetition builds trust. And trust is the most durable form of power. Imagine walking into any situation, And people around you already know one thing: you won't be swept up in the chaos. They know you won't react emotionally. They know that what you said yesterday still holds true today. That isn't just a reputation, it's presence, it's gravitas. Steadiness does not mean rigidity. The Stoic does not reject growth or change. But while others shift to please the crowd, the Stoic only changes when reason and principle demand it. They are flexible in methods but unwavering in values. Power built on impulse is fragile, but power built on consistency is like a mountain. Storms may rage, but the mountain stands unmoved. Remember this: the world does not respect people who are right once. It respects those who live rightly every day. Power is not loud. It doesn't lie in displays of dominance or superficial control. True power is quieter, more enduring. It begins with the way you govern yourself. You've now seen the 6 pillars. 1. Emotional mastery, refusing to let others control your heart. 2. The strength of silence, letting others expose themselves while you observe. 3. The art of observation, seeing beyond the surface to reach the essence. 4. Precise speech, speaking little but making every word count. 5. Attention control, refusing to waste energy on the meaningless. 6. Consistency, becoming the unshakable mountain in the storm. When you live by these principles, you're no longer dragged into the chaos of others. You stand firm. You move with clarity. You become the center around which the winds must turn. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be cold or detached. It teaches you to be free. And in that freedom, you discover your deepest strength, a kind of power that cannot be taken from you because it does not belong to anyone else. It belongs to you. Remember, the world doesn't need more people shouting to prove themselves. It needs people who are quiet, steady, and resolute. People whose very presence can shift the atmosphere. And you can become one of them, starting today.